sammen og velkommen til. Vi sidder her til et event, der er arrangeret af PlayStation, som handler om Spider-Man 2. Og lige om et øjeblik, så skal jeg interviewe John Paquette fra Insomniac Games. Hello, John.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I just had the chance to play Spider-Man 2, and I had a really great time. We've really been looking forward to speaking with you today.
That's great.
Can you tell us who you are and what you do at Insomniac Games?
Sure. I'm John Paquette. I'm the Senior Narrative Director on Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, awesome. So, do you get to write yourself, or do you just manage a team of writers? What's your role?
I do both.
You do both.
So yeah, early on in the process when we were a smaller team, I did a lot of the writing. But then as production went along, we added more writers to the team, and thankfully, because it's a big game, we have about 10-ish writers at the height of production. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. 10 writers. Yeah. So this game, it features multiple characters, multiple playable characters. With Spider-Man 1, with the DLC you introduced, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and then you had 2 playable characters. Now you maybe with the introduction of Venom and the symbiote, you could kind of say you have 3 characters that you have to manage. How is that working out, and what do you do to achieve this?
We've confirmed that we have Miles and Pete that are playable. What we've really focused on is how do we get those 2 characters to coexist. You know, in a big city, you know, it was a big challenge for our writing team because we wanted to make sure that we didn't just tell one of the Spider-Man stories. We told stories for both Spider-Man. And that means focusing on not just what they need to do as Spider-Man, but also what they need to do as Miles and Peter. And they've always got to balance those 2 lives that they have.
You have to manage both storylines because they both have their own paths that they're going through.
Yes.
And their own challenges.
Yes.
So you need to balance that.
We do need to balance that, and we wanted to make sure that each one of those storylines really focuses on the whole theme of balance, right? Making sure that you know, on the first game we discovered that the most important part of a Spider-Man story is that when Peter wins, Spider-Man loses. When Spider-Man wins, Peter loses, right? There's always that push and pull of the characters. And so we continued that in Miles Morales. And so now, in this game, we wanted to make sure that whenever Miles or Pete go out and do something in the city, there's a consequence to that. And they always have to balance that.
And now Peter has to divide his attention not only between maybe what's going on in his own head with the symbiote, right, but also Harry and Miles. So I think you get the sense from the trailers and also from some of the gameplay that Miles is very frustrated with it. Peter is kind of ghosting him here. Is that because of the symbiote? Is it affecting Peter?
Yeah, I mean, what we've talked about is the sense of power and responsibility that Spider-Man always has. What the symbiote does is it kind of pushes that into its most extreme, and Peter starts to forget, you know, about his power and responsibility, and part of that is his responsibility to Miles, and
as
how
a mentor
as a team member, because you know, in Miles Morales the relationship was definitely more mentor-mentee, but in this game they're really equals. They're both taking on the city at the same time, so they're kind of like co-workers and you know, having to stay in contact all the time in order to keep the city safe. So when Peter gets affected by the symbiote and maybe stops contacting Miles as much as he should, Miles starts to get worried, and with good reason.
Yeah. So will players get to fight Venom in the real world and perhaps also inside Peter's own head, because there's obviously this conflict between.
Well, we haven't talked exactly, you know, how we're going to do the Venom stuff, but he is a character in the game, and you've seen through, you know, some of the trailers and the stuff that we've released already that you know, he will be part of the experience for sure.
Yeah. And have you drawn inspiration from some of these games that try to depict this kind of inner turmoil I think one of my favorite examples is Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh, I love that game. Yeah.
Where you have this. It's very, very powerful. You need to play it with a set of headphones, right? Because you get all these voices in your head.
Yep.
Were you inspired by
or a really good surround sound system? If you've got
really
one of
good
those.
surround sound. Yeah, sure. Were you inspired by this kind of gameplay, perhaps? How do you communicate this inner conflict between Venom?
Right. Well, we try to do it in our own way. I mean, we're all inspired by different things. But with Peter, like I said, we really wanted to focus on that theme of power and responsibility with Spider-Man, and show through drama, what starts to happen with Pete when he loses his sense of responsibility.
Okay. So there has been quite a lot of depictions of Venom and the symbiote, both in movies and TV shows and so on. So how did you make sure that your version of symbiote both stayed true to the narrative, but also differentiated itself to be unique? Well,
one of the things we like to do is we like to read all the comics, see all the movies, play all the games that have come before, and then what I like to do, and I tell all the writers, forget all that stuff. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what we do is we kind of imbue ourselves with the DNA of what a good Spider-Man story or a good Miles Morales story or a good Venom story is. And then we try to forget that and focus on making our own unique story.
Based on the core values?
Based on the core values.
You get the essence from the comics.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. And you start to kind of see patterns. So, with Venom, we really focused on, okay, how does the story get affected by Peter going to this dark place, and how do his relationships with Miles and MJ and Harry get affected by what's happening to him? And it was a lot of fun to kind of explore that in an Insomniac focused way.
Sure. Were you inspired by any specific comics? I think you already sort of answered this question by saying that you were sort of gathering the essence and the core values.
I remember as a kid sitting in my friend's bedroom when the first Secret Wars came out. And so that was when the black suit, was first in the comics. And I remember that whole origin story. And so it started early for me with a lot of that stuff. But like I said, we wanted to forget all the specific stories, and focus on what we needed for Spider-Man 2, but also focus on what we had built up in Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. We wanted to make sure that we're taking the themes and the stories and the characters that we've established in those games, and continuing the story in a unique way.
How much creative freedom do you have? Because, like you just said, you of course you need to somewhat stay true to this material. Did you have pointers, someone looking over your shoulder saying, you can't do that?
No, what's great about our relationship with Marvel is they know that we can go off and make our own unique spin on Spider-Man, right? I think we gained a lot of trust with the first game.
Sure.
And we work really well with the team at Marvel. And they love seeing the stuff that we come up with and collaborating with us on all that.
Yeah. Does the multiverse play a role in giving you this freedom? Because this, in principle, allows you to do many different kinds of adaptations of the Spider-Man character with some of the traits, of course, being.
We try to focus on for this game, Insomniac. What have we established in the first game? What have we established in Miles Morales? And how can we continue those stories so that the audience can get a unique take on it?
Yeah. So the big villain that you're showing off right now here in the trailers is Kraven, Kraven the Hunter. So how do you choose these villains for your Spider-Man stories? Was this something you figured out early that you wanted to do, Kraven the Hunter, or?
When I'm thinking back to Spider-Man 1 and how we started with all of the villains. We basically had a list of all of the villains in Spider-Man stories. And we're like, it'd be cool to do that, it'd be cool to do that. But for this story, what we wanted to do, we knew obviously at the end of the first game we have a tease for the symbiote, right? So we knew we were going to do that in this game, and we thought, okay, what other villains can we do that would match kind of the aesthetic and the feel that we wanted to do in this game. And so we talked about Kraven early, and I think one of the breakthroughs for us was, his sort of focus on the hunt. When we were able to create a faction for him, we call them hunters, who have technology, but also that like core hunter aesthetic,
Yeah, it's a fun mix of the hunter in wearing a bear skin, right? And then they also have all this tech and and cool crossbows and drones.
It's a very Marvel thing, and it's really fun to kind of see that, and it's challenging gameplay wise as well.
It is. Yeah.
So once we worked through doing a lot of prototypes and looking at art and everything, we were like, this Kraven guy is pretty cool. He's going to work out for this game.
I agree. So in Spider-Man 1, there was a villain which kind of took the center stage in the beginning, but then later players found out that the true villain was Dr. Octopus. Do you have a similar surprise in wait for the players?
Well, you'll have to find out.
You'll have to find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. It won't be long though. October 20th. It's not too far away.
It's very soon. Yeah. So how does writing for a game differentiate itself from writing for TV or movies? And have you had any experience writing for TV?
Yeah, I have a degree in screenwriting from USC, and so I think there's a lot of similarities, especially with the cinematics. When we get into the cinematics, we know where the camera is, we know where the actors are.
Same composition with the cameras.
Yeah, and so a lot of that, like when we go to the mocap stage, we have actors and they have a script and they read the script and then we act it out, and that's very much like film and TV. But with a game, when we put those together and then have the open world, the city around the player, that's when we have to really look at, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that the player can experience the story that we want them to experience, but also feel the freedom to go off and kind of do whatever they want to do. And that's one of our biggest challenges when we're writing a game like Spider-Man, because we want people to know that there's main missions, like you played today.
Yeah.
How far did you get on your missions?
I didn't get that far. I think I got to the part where I needed to help out Miles' mom.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that's a mission where we wanted to have Miles and his mom get together. But if you wanted to before that, swing around the city, experience some side content, maybe collect some spider bots. You could do that, and there wasn't too much urgency, right? So the urgency is that's a word we use a lot when we're talking about constructing the open world and the story that we want. We've got to make sure that there's a sense of urgency to move forward in the story, but not too much urgency that you ignore all the crimes, all the stuff that's going on.
I think that's an excellent point, and a common pitfall you could say in this type of game is that, as you say, that the main story becomes so overwhelmingly important that the player just you can't get yourself to walk around and discover.
Yeah. So what's great about Spider-Man is that it's a great sense of immersion, because that's kind of what he does as a character, right? Like he has to balance. There's that word balance again. But when he's out in the city being Spider-Man, there's things going on over there, there's things going on over there, and he's got to make choices about what he's going to go and do. And we put
that in your favor in this case, actually.
And we put that control in your hands.
Spider-Man experience. So how do you create a open world that players want to explore? Because I think in my opinion, it's an area that many developers struggle with. Some tend to do very, very large open maps, but in my opinion, that doesn't really. That's not very good if you don't fill these worlds with important stuff to do.
Yep.
So do you have, what have you done to...
Well, one of the things we talk about as a writing team is we want the city itself to be a character. So in Spider-Man 1, Manhattan was definitely a character in the game. When you're swinging through the city, you can hear people talking, you can hear the noise of the city. It has a very unique feel. In Spider-Man 2, when we open it up to Queens and Brooklyn, we wanted to make sure that you get a sense of, okay, what is Queens like? What is Brooklyn like? And I don't know how much you got to swing around, but it's different in Spider-Man 2 because there's suburbs out there in Queens. Like you go to Amne's house.
It's different for sure, right?
Yeah,
you don't have the skyscrapers.
Right. But it feels different as well. Like as Spider-Man, when you're going down streets where there's houses and people live, and you're walking down the sidewalks, and it's a lot of fun, I think, to think about how do we tell stories in these environments now that we have more on our palette with the Queens and Brooklyn boroughs.
Yeah. So we can expect to play some side quests where Miles helps out or Peter helps out in the local community.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a huge part of who they are as Spider-Man, especially Miles. If you remember, Miles Morales, that was really all focused around Spanish Harlem, and the theme for him on that game was, being his own Spider-Man, getting in touch with his own community, making sure that they saw him as the hero for their specific part of New York.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit over to the technical side. So you're developing this is exclusive for the PlayStation 5. At some point will also come to PC, I presume. But has this new technology with the PS5 allowed you to do more stuff with Spider-Man 2 compared to the first, which was also for the last-gen console?
Not only does it look great,
yeah.
I mean, obviously,
I agree,
it looks amazing, but from a storytelling perspective, one of the things that we're allowed to do now is switch characters very quickly. The hard drive on the PS5 is
very fast.
It's very fast, and what's interesting is when we were developing the previous two games, we kind of had to design the story so that we knew where the player was going, so that we could load, parts of the city and the assets and all that kind of stuff. We're getting technical here, but
sure.
What's so freeing about the PS5 and Spider-Man 2 is we were like, we can just cut to a different part of the city and resume the story over there with a different Spider-Man. And for us as writers, that opened up a whole bunch of avenues of places to explore story-wise.
Sure. So that's been the main advance in terms of the PS5 being able to
there's that, but also the lighting looks better.
Draw distances.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to talk to Mike, our core director, but I'm sure he can tell you. He can give you all the technical jargon that I don't know. But
Okay, so Insomniac is also making a Wolverine game, which I think people are, myself included, are very excited about. So will we be seeing some villains or characters crossover between the Wolverine game and Spider-Man 2?
We're just talking about Spider-Man 2 today, unfortunately.
I had to ask it.
Yeah.
My boss will kill me if I don't ask. So.
I know. That's okay. I'm ready for it.
That's good to hear already.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the 3 most influential games in your opinion?
For me personally?
Yeah, for you personally.
Okay.
Not in terms,
This is John talking. This isn't.
This is not the opinions of Insomniac or PlayStation.
Okay, so when I played the original Half-Life as a young man, I was blown away by how the world can be created. Because previous to that, I mean, we had some great first-person shooters, and they were fun. Like I can't think of one, but when Half-Life came out, that was the first game I ever finished, and I was like, I need to play that again.
Yeah.
So that was the first one for me. Half-Life 2 was another one.
Yeah.
I think I got sucked into that universe way too much. One that whenever students ask about game writing and they want good examples of games,
Yeah.
a game that I always talk about is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh yeah.
So
I actually I haven't played it, but
no spoilers. But what the game does beautifully, right, is that it takes what we have as a medium. We have all these tools at our disposal as a medium that film and TV don't have, right? And that's gameplay. That's interactivity, right?
You have another dimension that you don't have.
Exactly. And so what they do in that game is that as you play each character in that game, they change the way the game plays, and you experience these characters through the controller. Do I have to talk faster? No. I'm trying to think of additional games. I mean,
oh, those are good.
I play a lot of games, so I love discovering new things, and I would say Inside is another great game that I really enjoyed.
That's a Danish developer also. We're happy to hear that.
And that's an example of, some people when they say, oh, game writers, you guys write all the dialogue, and I'm like, game like Inside, great story, no dialogue.
I agree. Yeah. So lastly here, the Spider-Man games have been a huge success for Insomniac and PlayStation. You guys did a great job. Do you want to do more Spider-Man games in the future?
As a player,
you want to?
As a player, I would love to, play a lot more Spider-Man games. I don't think it will ever get old to swing around the city and feel like Spider-Man, right? Yeah. As a developer, we're just talking about Spider-Man 2 today. I would love to talk about future plans, but
Were you just a little bit scared when you started to work on Spider-Man, because people have so many expectations for the Spider-Man universe? People it's one of the most beloved superheroes of all time.
Absolutely.
Did you feel the pressure?
Yeah, I felt the power and the responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
Thankfully, the nervousness wore off as we got down to work. We have a great team at Insomniac. I always say everybody at Insomniac is a storyteller.
Yeah.
And so me as a narrative director, I'm supported by all these people who really love story and really want to make this franchise the best that it can be. So
that sounds great.
I'm lucky. Yeah,
you guys did great. So when can people play this game?
It's coming out on October 20th.
Awesome.
Although you played it today.
I played today, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, John.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah.
It was pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the demo today?
I think just the web swinging in general, the traversal is really good.
Yeah.
As you say, you feel the freedom of being Spider-Man. I think that's awesome.
And did you use the web wings as you were?
I did. Yeah. It was really good. And you put in these elements where you're sort of propelled forward by the wind.
The wind tunnel.
Yeah. The wind tunnels, which were pretty cool. But from a story perspective, I really liked the conflict in Peter Parker, because it's very subtle from the stuff I played, but it's so powerful. The symbiote. It's the small thing he doesn't say, right? The fact that his attention is just smeared out all these things.
Yep.
I think it's super interesting, and I can't wait to see.
And the voice acting of Yuri Lowenthal, right?
Yeah.
Like he is in the first couple games. He was such a happy guy, but then
the weight of the responsibility.
You probably felt like some of the dialogue, some of the lines that he was saying in this demo, you could just feel the darkness inside of him. I think he does an amazing job.
I can't wait to see what you guys do with it.
Yeah.
In some of the recent movies, which I won't say what I think about it, but will we be rooting for the symbiote in the end, or will you be?
That's up to you.
That's up to us.
Yeah, that's up to you when you.
Will you be like an anti-hero?
Yeah.
Okay.